Thank you so much, Dean Antman, and what an honor to be with you here, Dr. McKnight, Divya, and Michael, and other distinguished guests, and the faculty of the Boston University Chobanian and Avedisian School of Medicine. Most of all, it's my honor to be here with you, the incredible class of 2023. I want to take a moment to thank those who supported you, as so many before me have done, and encouraged you to push forward on your academic journey. I have been in your seat, and while it is you who have persevered, waded over the literature, pored over the data, and endured those seemingly interminable call nights, take the time to remember those whose love and support made your stamina possible. The pandemic brought you to campus. It brought you a campus experience unlike any you might have imagined. You completed a large part of your time learning from anywhere, and you navigated COVID guidance and testing and vaccination policies along the way. Many labs were shut down for many months, and long-term animal studies were negatively impacted. You did not let that stop you. You pivoted your projects to focus on COVID-19 research, or you took a remote computational approach to move your projects forward. Many of you eagerly sought out clinical programs and opportunities to volunteer and aid the Boston communities throughout the pandemic. You worked with groups supporting community members who were food insecure or without housing. And so now, truly inspired by the stories I have heard about how all of you have stepped up, I have the humbling task of electrifying you to do more, to engage differently, and to show up in new places and in new ways. So here it goes. I'm not much of a movie critic. In fact, the Walensky family joke is that if Mom stays awake, it was a good movie. That said, I remember November 1989, the year The Little Mermaid was released. I loved it. Soon, a new version of The Little Mermaid will be released, a live-action movie complete with new songs co-written by none other than Lin-Manuel Miranda. And while I loved this film, its message is one to be taken with caution and with a lesson in mind, and that is my lesson today for you. In this movie, Ariel, a smart, curious, and adventurous mermaid, wants to become human to marry her handsome prince. And she has a spell cast upon her, a spell in which she trades her voice for legs. It's astonishing, actually. Her voice is literally taken from her. And while she initially didn't appreciate the value of her voice, she quickly discovers that it is close to powerless to be voiceless. As Ariel learned, our voice is among the most precious of our possessions, and those without voices, or whose voices go unheard, merit special care and attention. So much of what I've learned during my own career is the value of my voice when I can lend it to those whose voices may not be heard, a student or a friend who is contemplating self-harm, a vulnerable patient without means, a faculty member who has been harassed, or a community that has been overlooked in resource allocation. This may sound easy, but it's actually not. Why? Because your very ability to lend this voice will require one of your other most precious commodities, your time. It will mean, on a busy call night, instead of relying on your high school level Spanish for the history and physical, you'll instead page the medical interpreter so you can really understand the details of your patient's decline. It will mean when somebody conveys an uncomfortable professional interaction that is so much easier to gloss over, you will instead ask to hear more, to unpack the details, to sit with your colleague through their tears, even when you are overbooked with experiments and meetings. And it will mean canceling that overbooked busy clinic day to attend a longtime patient's funeral and talking with his family so that they know he didn't suffer and that he was deeply cared for. And still, I'm asking you to be intentional about how you use your time and your voice and to use them for purpose and for good. With your newly minted degrees, you have knowledge, you have wisdom, you have stature, and you have privilege. And I would argue you now have a responsibility to not just use your voice for your own advocacy, but to use it for those who cannot otherwise advocate for themselves. Barriers may stand in the way of those we care for and work with, like poverty and poor housing and unsafe or unhealthy environments, as well as access to good jobs, quality education, and comprehensive high-quality health care. So too can barriers stand in our way as researchers and physicians, like a hierarchy in academia and medicine, how we look, and the affirmation we may or may not receive. I ask you to recognize these barriers and to use your voice to break them down. I ask you to use your voice to end the practice of marginalizing people, clinically and professionally, based on their identity. I ask you to use your voice to eliminate the structural barriers to opportunity for everyone in this country. And I ask you to use your voice and the power of your research and your data to drive equity in policy change. It means listening first before talking, and sometimes it will mean trying to understand what was left unsaid in an interaction and why, and understanding your own conscious and unconscious biases. When you think about your work each day, how can you, even in small ways, give voice to this value of honoring each individual person? You are entering the profession with so much opportunity ahead. The public is paying close attention to all that we do and all that we say, and trust me, I know. Never in our history have our voices been so mightily important. You and I are fortunate to be living in such an exciting time where great work and meaningful change for people of all communities and all backgrounds can happen not by accident, but because of your devotion, because you use your voice and it rings clear. Keep your voice strong, consistent, compassionate. Be courageous and never give up. I am so grateful to be here with you at this moment as you step toward the enormous opportunities ahead of you. And I look forward to watching all that you will do and how the health of this nation and indeed this world will be better because of you. So to the newly minted doctors and scientists in the class of 2023, congratulations.